There's a man somewhere right now who barely replies, doesn't over-explain, and never rearranges his life for anyone. And somehow, women compete for his attention. Meanwhile, another man answers every message instantly, plans everything perfectly, gives everything he has, and still ends up hearing, "I'm just not ready for anything serious." Same effort, very different results. And here's the part that stings. It's not about looks. It's not about money. It's not even about confidence in the way most people think. It's about one brutal psychological truth that almost no man is taught. The moment you become easy to replace, attraction begins to die. Not because women are cruel, not because they play games, but because of how the human brain assigns value. And once you understand this, you stop trying to be chosen and start becoming irreplaceable. If you're watching this right now, hit that subscribe button, because what I'm about to show you goes against everything you've been told about attraction. Most men never see it happening. They think attraction disappears because they said the wrong thing, didn't text enough, or didn't try hard enough. But what actually happens is far more uncomfortable. They make themselves predictable. They remove all uncertainty. They offer everything too early. And in doing so, they destroy the very thing that creates desire. Before we go any further, understand this. This is not about playing hard to get. It's not about manipulation. It's not about pretending you don't care. That kind of acting always collapses. What we're talking about here is becoming genuinely difficult to replace as a man. Not because you're unavailable, but because your life, identity, and standards make you rare. And once that happens, attraction stops being something you chase. It becomes something that responds to you. Let me show you how this actually works. Think about the last thing you truly wanted. Not something casual, something that mattered. Maybe a job that only had a few openings, a car you searched for months, tickets that sold out in minutes. Now compare that to something that was handed to you instantly, with zero effort. Which one stayed in your mind? Which one felt valuable? This isn't about objects. This is how the brain evaluates everything, including people. Psychologists call it the scarcity principle. The harder something is to replace, the more meaning the mind assigns to it. And in attraction, this principle doesn't just apply, it dominates. When a woman knows you're always available, always agreeable, always waiting, something subtle happens in her perception of you. You stop being a choice, you become a guarantee. And guarantees don't create desire, they create comfort. And comfort, when it arrives too early, kills attraction.
Here's where most men get it wrong. They think attraction fades because they weren't good enough, so they try harder. They text more, they explain more, they give more. But what they don't realize is that they're not increasing their value, they're increasing their replaceability. Let me make this real. I knew a man named Marcus. On paper, he was everything you're told women want. Smart, kind, emotionally available, reliable. Every relationship followed the same pattern. Strong beginning, deep conversations, then suddenly, distance. She'd respond slower. Plans became vague. Eventually, "You're amazing, but I don't feel it anymore." Marcus couldn't understand it. He had done everything right. What he didn't see was this. He had removed all tension, all uncertainty, all mystery within the first few weeks. He rearranged his schedule for her, texted every morning and every night, made himself completely accessible. There was no discovery left, no space for desire to grow. Not because he wasn't valuable, but because his value became predictable. Any man could replace him because he wasn't standing in anything that was uniquely his. And that's the part most men never confront. Attraction doesn't die when you're kind. It dies when you become interchangeable. So, what changed for Marcus? He stopped dating for a while. Not to punish women, not to reset the game, but to build something that didn't revolve around being chosen. He joined a Brazilian jiu-jitsu gym, started a side project he actually cared about, rebuilt friendships he had neglected. When he eventually dated again, he wasn't constantly available, not because he was pretending to be busy, but because he actually was. He had structure, direction, identity. And suddenly, women leaned in again, not because he became colder, but because he became harder to replace. Here's the uncomfortable truth no one wants to say out loud. Desire is not created by how much you give, it's created by how much you represent something rare. And rarity comes from a life that exists independently of who's watching. So, what actually makes a man irreplaceable? It's not arrogance, it's not emotional withdrawal, it's not treating women badly, it's something deeper. It's having a life, identity, and standards that do not collapse around one person. When your world is full, your presence becomes valuable. When your world is empty, your presence becomes needy. Now, let me flip the perspective. Imagine a woman whose entire emotional state depends on your attention. No real goals, no passions, no meaningful friendships. Her happiness rises and falls based on how much you validate her. How does that feel? Not attractive, not exciting, heavy. Now imagine a woman who has her own direction, her own life, her own world, and she chooses to make space for you inside it. Completely different energy. That's the exact dynamic women feel when they meet a man who is grounded in himself versus one who is seeking completion.
And this brings us to the first principle of being hard to replace: unpredictability within reliability. You are solid in your character. You keep your word. You show up when it matters. But you are not routine in the experience you provide. You don't become a script. You don't become something she can fully map in 2 weeks. The man who takes her to the same restaurant every Friday at the same time becomes background noise. The man who is reliable in his integrity but dynamic in how he lives remains mentally engaging. Think about it this way. Predictability and character builds trust. Predictability and experience builds boredom. You want her to trust you'll show up when you say you will, but you don't want her to predict every conversation, every date, every emotional tone before it happens. Variety keeps the brain engaged. Routine makes it drift. And here's something most men miss. This doesn't mean you need to be spontaneous all the time or create artificial drama. It just means you continue evolving, exploring, and bringing new energy into your interactions. The second principle is where most men lose all leverage: outcome independence. The moment you need a specific result, you give up power. When you need her to text back, need her to choose you, need her to validate you, she feels it instinctively, not consciously, not logically, emotionally. And emotional dependence is never attractive. I once watched this play out with a man named David. A woman he was seeing began pulling away, going silent for days, then reappearing like nothing happened. Most men would spiral, craft messages, try to re-engage, overinvest. David didn't, not because he was alpha, but because his life didn't stop when her attention did. He genuinely forgot to reply for days because he was on a camping trip with no service. When he finally responded, there was no resentment, no anxiety, no explanation. Her interest spiked instantly, not because he played a game, but because he didn't need the outcome. Outcome independence doesn't mean you don't care. It means your emotional stability is not held hostage by someone else's response. And here's what's fascinating. When you achieve real outcome independence, it shows up in 1,000 micro behaviors you don't even consciously control. The tone of your voice stays steady. Your body language remains open but not desperate. Your texting patterns don't shift based on her responsiveness. You become consistent in a way that signals strength. Most men think they're hiding their neediness, but it bleeds through in how quickly they respond, how much they explain, how eager their energy feels. Real outcome independence can't be faked for long, which is why the only solution is to actually build a life you're fulfilled by.
The third principle is where attraction either deepens or collapses: selective vulnerability. Some men hide everything, others overshare everything. Both destroy polarity.
When you reveal yourself too fast, there's nothing left to discover. When you reveal nothing, there's nothing to connect to. Being hard to replace means depth is earned, not given away. When you share something meaningful, it matters because it wasn't handed out indiscriminately. I've seen this mistake destroy potentially great connections more times than I can count. A guy meets someone he really likes, feels that rare spark, and within 3 dates, he's sharing his deepest insecurities, childhood wounds, and relationship history. He thinks he's being authentic and emotionally available. And to be fair, those are good qualities. But timing matters. Vulnerability without context is just oversharing. Vulnerability after trust is intimacy. When you share deep parts of yourself before she's invested, before she's curious, before she's earned access to those layers, you're essentially giving away the ending of the movie in the first 10 minutes. There's nothing left to wonder about. The fourth principle is one most men are afraid to touch: non-negotiable standards. Men who believe they are lucky just to be chosen tolerate disrespect, inconsistency, and emotional imbalance. They think boundaries push women away, so they remove them, and in doing so, they remove their value. The paradox is brutal. The moment you become willing to walk away from what doesn't serve you, you become more desirable, not because you threaten, but because you demonstrate self-respect. When you stop negotiating for basic decency, you communicate something powerful. Your time is not cheap. Let me give you a concrete example of what this looks like. A man I'll call Alex was seeing someone who kept canceling plans at the last minute, always with a reason, always with an apology, but it kept happening. Most men would keep accommodating this, thinking that being understanding would eventually win her over. Alex did something different. After the third cancellation, he sent a simple message: "I respect that life gets busy, but I need someone who can follow through on plans. If that's not where you're at right now, no hard feelings." He didn't send this to manipulate her. He genuinely meant it. And here's what happened. She completely shifted her behavior, started making him a priority, stopped the flaky pattern. But here's the key. Alex was fully prepared to walk away if she didn't change. His boundary wasn't a bluff, it was a real line. That's what women respond to. Not threats, not ultimatums, but genuine standards that you're willing to enforce, even if it costs you the relationship. The fifth principle is often misunderstood but very real: social proof and pre-selection. Women notice how others respond to you, how you're treated, whether people respect you. Not because they copy each other, but because the brain is wired to recognize value through social context. A man with friendships, community, and presence is automatically perceived as higher value than a man who exists in isolation. This isn't about showing off, it's about building a life people want to be part of. When you walk into a room and people genuinely light up to see you, when the bartender remembers your name, when your friends clearly respect and enjoy your company, these are all signals that you're someone worth knowing. Women pick up on these cues constantly.
Contrast that with a man who has no close friends, no social ties, no community. Someone who exists in isolation, waiting for a romantic relationship to become his entire social world. That's not just unattractive, it's a red flag. It signals that something might be off in how he relates to people. You don't need to be the most popular person in every room, but you need to have genuine connections with people who value you. And finally, the foundation beneath all of it: emotional self-sufficiency. Men who are truly hard to replace do not look to a woman to complete them. They are already living a meaningful life. A relationship is an addition, not a rescue. Needy energy says, "I need you to feel okay." Grounded energy says, "I choose you, but I don't disappear without you." That difference changes everything.
Think about what emotional self-sufficiency actually looks like in practice. It's waking up on a Saturday when you're single and having things you're genuinely excited to do. It's not checking your phone every 5 minutes hoping for a text. It's having hobbies, interests, and goals that give your life direction, regardless of your relationship status. It's being able to be alone without feeling lonely. When you achieve this, you stop radiating desperation. Your energy shifts from "please pick me" to "here's what I bring to the table." And that shift is everything. Here's the framework. If you want to become genuinely hard to replace, you don't need better lines, you need a better life structure. Build skills that take time. Pursue goals that give your days direction. Maintain friendships. Protect your time. When you date, don't abandon your world for someone new. Integrate them into a life that already has momentum. The man who cancels his entire life the moment someone shows interest becomes disposable. The man who invites her into a life already in motion becomes rare. And here's something subtle but critical. Be emotionally steady, not reactive, not volatile, not dependent. When your mood rises and falls with every text, you signal instability. When you remain centered, regardless of outcome, you become safe and powerful. Women are attracted to emotional stability, not coldness, not indifference, but genuine centeredness. A man who isn't thrown off by small setbacks or over the moon about minor wins demonstrates that he's grounded in something deeper than external validation. This is not manipulation, this is self-mastery. You're not pretending to be busy, you are busy. You're not acting indifferent, you are grounded. You're not playing games, you are living. That's the difference between tactics and identity. Tactics are things you do. Identity is who you are. Tactics can work short-term, but they collapse under pressure. Identity sustains itself because it's real. Think about the most attractive people you know. They're not chasing validation, they're immersed in their lives. And when they choose someone, it feels meaningful because they didn't need to. That's the energy you're building toward.
Now let me address something important. This doesn't mean you become cold or distant. It doesn't mean you don't show affection or appreciation. It means your affection comes from abundance, not scarcity. When you compliment her, it lands differently because she knows you're not saying it to keep her interested. You're saying it because you genuinely feel it. When you make time for her, it matters more because she knows you're choosing her over other valuable uses of your time. Scarcity of attention from a high-value source is worth more than unlimited attention from someone who has nothing else going on. Here's your challenge. Stop asking how to be chosen. Start asking how to become someone who cannot be casually replaced. Build something real. Protect your standards. Develop emotional independence. Create a life you'd be proud of even if no one ever joined it. When you do that, attraction stops being something you chase. It becomes something that responds to who you are. You're not trying to trick anyone into liking you. You're becoming someone worth choosing. There's a massive difference. One is manipulation, the other is self-respect. One collapses under scrutiny, the other strengthens over time. And here's what most men never realize until it's too late. The woman who falls for tactics will leave when she figures them out. The woman who falls for who you genuinely are becomes more attracted as she gets to know you better. That's the relationship you actually want. So if you take nothing else from this, take this. Stop optimizing for short-term attraction through manipulation. Start building long-term value through genuine development. The first path leads to emptiness even when it works. The second path leads to fulfillment regardless of the outcome. Now go build a life that makes you irreplaceable, not just to women, but to yourself.
Because at the end of the day, the most attractive thing you can be is a man who doesn't need anyone else to feel complete, but who chooses to share his completeness with someone worthy of it. Drop a comment right now telling me which of these 6 principles you need to work on most. And if this perspective shifted something for you, hit that like button and subscribe, because we're going deeper into what actually creates lasting attraction in the next video.